So India and Myanmar, perhaps we can, they got independent almost at the same time. India in 1947 and Myanmar officially in 1948. So Masigi relationship asida kari challenges like and what has been the historical background and what is the way forward and what is the emerging trend I'm so now the map is here in front of you. I see the so towards this side east from the moi China के border like any to the atopa South Asian countries के border like so India ga Myanmar relationship masida like I said they got independent almost around the same time but India and Myanmar politically has taken almost a kind of opposite direction in its political history ꯑꯗꯨꯃꯛꯄꯨ ꯍꯧꯖꯤꯛ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯒ ꯃ꯭ꯌꯥꯟꯃꯥꯔꯒ ꯂꯩꯔꯤꯕ ꯔꯤꯂꯦꯁꯟꯁꯤꯞꯁꯦ to understand the relationship now the level of India engagement now we have to go back a little bit in history but before we go to that let us first try to understand what is India's main objective in Myanmar or in engaging with Myanmar. First is security. Okay. And then you have connectivity. I explain all this topic one by one. Okay. Connectivity, and then with that connectivity, you have economic, and then you have the Indian Ocean dimension, which I call maritime dimension. I say often neglected but paramount importance maritime dimension in India and Myanmar relationship. So these are the main objectives or main concerns, main area of interest for India engaging with Myanmar. Security concern the internal security classes. I don't think that you will have many questions on this. Nevertheless, security concerns because as we all know, almost or let's say many of the majority of the dominant insurgency groups or militant groups operating in Northeast India has its bases and found shelter in Myanmar. And India's security in the east, in Northeast, depend on Myanmar support. India, I'm not saying that India cannot fight on their own. It is very difficult. And in fact, without the support of Myanmar, it is almost impossible. Almost impossible, almost impossible to achieve the security objectives of India in Northeast. And closely connecting to that is the issue of connectivity and India policy in Northeast India. So Northeast India, as we all know, it lags behind the other part of India in socio-economic development and other parameters. Aduna, so the idea of connecting the East with the West, the idea of connecting India via Northeast India towards Southeast Asian countries is also another calculation scope. And then the economic dimension, well, because India now is one of the fastest growing economy, it has achieved economic strength, and there is the need for access to market, access to energy, access to capitals, avenue for investment. So that is the economic dimension. So what with regards to maritime dimension, I will explain it maybe further as our class progress, its topic more. So maritime dimensions in a Karino Haibamutam, if we look at the map here, we see that Myanmar is also a littoral state of Bay of Bengal. Aduna, Masida, aside connectivity, there is this maritime dimension in the sense because of the Kaladan multimodal project. I'll come to that later on and when we discuss connectivity in detail. So Masida Su, Indian Ocean through the Bay of Bengal, access to Northeast India, Mizoram, the access to plan a project is in the pipeline, is going undergoing. So it will cut the journey time by 3-4 days and then around 1,000 kilometers per advantages. So more than that, what is important is I'll again come to China because we cannot avoid it, right? So Masida Indian Ocean in Bay of Bengal, India interest with Myanmar in Myanmar with regards to maritime dimensions. India wants to secure this area. India wants to have dominance in the Indian Ocean. India does not want any other major powers coming and meddling in its own backyard. And China is slowly encroaching in this Indian Ocean. And Myanmar is also one of the country where Chinese are helping in building naval bases. Myanmar, you know, naval port built over or commercial port built over infrastructure development projects. I'm going to build over so they are connecting roadways or through Myanmar. Myanmar is why they connecting the Yunnan province. Port Kimamindu Kyoktao, when I found a hierarchy connection window, I not to talk even. So the point here is more access. China is also searching access to Indian Ocean via Myanmar, similar record. And so what is important and what is pertinent to note is that if they can transport goods, then it is not difficult to transport the troops and military equipment also, right? So India's interest in the Bay of Bengal, in the Indian Ocean, we need to, the importance of Myanmar also increases. And not only that, and have the increasing Chinese presence in Myanmar or in the Indian Ocean region. And this Myanmar can provide access to China in the Bay of Bengal. Aduga, Asida Chinese presence, it's not a good idea for India. And China already has its presence. Asida Myanmar, Cocos Island. Cocos Island, Hanaswai, Cocos Island. Masigi Island, Sida, there is signal intelligence. China based signal intelligence based like and high cost. So Masida, what does it do? What it does is it gathers intelligence of Indian Ocean. But if we look at our critical infrastructures, the significance of this signal base in Cocos Island lies in the fact that as India, whenever you heard about missile tests or rocket launch, what you will see is they are all in the East Coast. Sriharikota, Wheeler Island, they're all in the East Coast. So they can monitor our missile development projects, our missile tests, our rocket tests, our space launch, and also our naval dockyard in Visakhapatnam. They can, and also our Andaman and Nicobar Island base. So they can monitor not only Indian Navy's activities, but also India's missile and space development and space activities. So Aduna, the maritime importance, the maritime dimension of Myanmar in India is increasing. And like I said, most of the trade in Indian Ocean, in India is through the Indian Ocean. So that is one of the dimensions. So Hꯧꯖꯤꯛꯀꯤ ꯍꯥꯏꯔꯤꯕ India's interest in I list down because I said India's main interest in Myanmar is about security, connectivity, economy, and also the maritime dimension of uh, India's Myanmar relationship, importance of Myanmar because of its position, geographical location in the littorals of the Bay of Bengal, and like that. So towards this end, India na kaya mo successful oiribra, or what has been our level of engagement in the past, and what is the possible future ahead ko. Ano haybet yung minasi? Security, with regards to security concerns. Security concerns for successful implementations of policies like Look East policy for stability in Northeast India, Myanmar is of paramount importance. Karigino, we cannot fight Northeast insurgency without Myanmar support, because that's what happened in Afghanistan, right? And US. So you can just draw the parallel. So USA come into Afghanistan, they drop the Taliban out of power. But what Taliban does is they just simply retreat back to Pakistan and found a safe haven. Then the USA spent billions and billions of dollars in Afghanistan, but still they cannot have the kind of government that they want in Afghanistan. So because from here they just shifted here. The places they found safe haven here. So same here, issue. We are living in present times and we know what is happening, right? So insurgency group they found shelter here. So as long as they are safe here, they can operate. I don't know how now in a globalized world with the development of internet and communication technologies, spread of information via social medias and all of the media, it is not difficult to wage a information war sitting far away from India. That is new dimension that is being added. So aduna security of India gidamakta Myanmar is very important with regards to Northeast insurgency, and not only with regard to Northeast insurgency, the security of India, or the security interest, the strategic interest of India with reference to China. Masitashu ekoi Myanmar ki importance me am like example, Chinese presence in the coast of Myanmar, or like we don't want, of course we cannot deny Chinese influence in Myanmar, but what we don't want is, we do not want hegemonic influence of China over Myanmar. So when that happens, it is going to be very difficult for us, because like I said, because of this Burma location in the Bay of Bengal littoral areas, littoral states, one of the littoral states of Bay of Bengal, and then Adudigidi, because of like Chinese support for the Northeast insurgencies, and also, so this is Indian level assessment, okay, that there is a possibility that even when China control all of the ports around this area, there is a possibility that, so we know when internal security when we look at the route of arms trade, we know that small arms were coming from Thailand, right, to Bangladesh and Myanmar, and then to Mizoram, and then to Manipur and Nagaland, all of this towards among the insurgency groups in the Northeast, right? Drugs, arms, internal security cluster. So this is an assessment that there is the possibility of Chinese dominance in this area if they have access to all the ports. Like in military terms, what they call anti-access or area denial. So if the Chinese Navy presence or our adversaries' presence makes the area inaccessible to Indian Navy or Indian security apparatus, then now who is going to stop the flow of these arms and ammunitions and all the anti-India activities that will happen along this? Arms trade, arms smuggling into Northeast India, so any like success of any operation against arms trade is dependent upon Myanmar and Bangladesh. It's almost next to impossible. So, and added to that dimension is, I know you mentioned in the event of Chinese area denial, access denial to Indian security forces in this littoral area, it's going to be disastrous. But that is a possibility. So, aduna India security perspective to the Myanmar is of utmost importance to us. Connectivity when we look at connectivity, Myanmar lies at a crossroad connecting South Asia and Southeast Asia. So this is one of our project that India and other its neighbor partner countries are pushing for. I do not see India, Southeast Asian countries may connect we have to go through Myanmar. So they act as a link between India with South Asia and Southeast Asia and East Asia. I do not. Stability in Myanmar is of very much importance. Connectivity say for India, connectivity with countries of Southeast Asia and Asian nations, and also India internal connectivity, meaning connectivity of mainland India with its northeastern region. So, as a connectivity, roadway maps in trilateral highway built India, Myanmar, Thailand, trilateral highway. So this is a project, ongoing project to connect India with East Asian countries. Similar. So the other one is the Kaladan multimodal project. Kaladan multimodal project in Karino Hairaga. See, Kolkata Port Gina. Burma gi Sidway Port. Sidway Port say. As if how we will connect with via sea route. Sidway the Gina via the Kaladan River, area say. As if how Paletwa area say, as if how will go by river, and then from here roadways. By highway, roadways we go to Myanmar and Mizoram. Kaladan multimodal projects. So connectivity. Connectivity, these are the projects that India is currently undertaking. And the importance of connectivity is India's connecting with Southeast Asian countries, with the Asian countries in particular, and also for the development of northeastern region of India. Now, economic aspect, this is connectivity. Connectivity aspect, similar. So, asidagi na, asi connect or Mizoram connect over. Asi Mizoram, Kolkata lagi na, chalaga. Connect corridor power, Assam power Mizoram say the time and distance is 1,000 kilometer time the kilometer distance cut down to, which means the cost will come down, and the time 3 to 4 days less low. So these are the importance of Myanmar in India's connectivity interest. See later. And the other one is economic dimension. Economic dimension is the Karino Haimatamda. Like I said, India need access to market because India is a growing economy. Indian companies needed place for investment, and also India's energy needs. So Myanmar has energy potential more but Myanmar to support, right? But we are not fully fully developed out there, and then we are not fully being able to capitalize also. I don't know the economic side and also the importance of Asian countries in Indian economy, and then that will happen through Myanmar, right? Connect through Myanmar. That is the economic dimension. So maritime dimension there inside explain later. So that is what we have been doing with regards to our interests and with regards to our dealing with Myanmar. But when we come to the question of how are we going to deal with Myanmar, or how have we been dealing with Myanmar, and what has our relationship been? We need to go back a little bit in time in order to understand what India policy is now, because it has its root in history also. So India ga Myanmar 1947 and 48 ani masi independent pangre so in the initial years till 1962 they have a very good relationship because they have good like Moiji Matamadugi Prime Minister. How do you pronounce? I don't know. Jawaharlal Nehru, they have a good relationship, personal relationships and then ideologies the higher share and then international arena like we have a good relationship with them. But it does not mean that there was no hiccups in that relationship. So India ga Myanmar ga angan matamdagi horaga issue lairapase there is this issue of Indian immigrants, or we can say diaspora, in Myanmar. See, Myanmar, if anyone has gone to More, More, the Tamilians Tamil Sangam, association. So, More, the if you were in social media, Kwatha, the Laihara, the viral yam chatkiba ama layina ko videos ama where that lady was weeping because Kwatha the lai harawa senthum laitabagi ngamdaba khottaba ko adugumbagi mana adugi wari lirakpaduda she mentioned about Tamil Sangam, like Tamil Sangam na mateng pangba adugumbagi I pet mention tawpibne ko. So we will come to the Tamil Sangam and the Tamil community in More now. Karamay nalakani haiba matamda hauzik Myanmar was also once upon a time British na pyramid so British influence में हम ले British colonies oirami so adumina oiba matam asida people from India, especially South India Tamil Nadu South India they went to Myanmar to work in Myanmar and not only that, the Indians were used by the Britishers and by the colonial masters in the administration and government of Myanmar. So there was huge population of Indians in Myanmar during the time of its independence. But after independence, since the early times, so the situation could have been different if Aung San, the father of Aung San Suu Kyi, was not assassinated and he became, prime minister of the president, the prime minister of Nepal. It could have been different. We don't know, but it's just all a question of if. Why do I say that is? Because even the Rohingya issue might have been little different. We don't know, but I'm just saying if. Why? Because there is this presence of Tamil Muslims even in his cabinet ko cabinet to the presence of Tamil Muslims who yaw my cabinet yaw some raza or things like that. And then magi ethnic Myanmar ethnic conflict issue like magi when he wants like more of an at least in paper autonomy towards the other ethnic tribes. So it might be different, but it's all if. So I'm just saying you sharing the information, okay, but they might not write all those in exams. So in High River Prime Minister during the early times of Burmese Myanmar independence, during that time Burma, they have an anti-immigrant attitude. So many legislations and act come about because some of them are land as early as 1948. They brought in this Land Alienation Act, which forbid the sale of land to non-Burmese. And then in 1949, Burma Land Nationalization Bill, asigumba. Kari hagni pura anti moy kari hagni anti-immigrant oiba Burmese dominated oiba policies and then in 1953 Burma ki sarkar da the Indian people of Indian origin officials so in 1953 around 10,000 Indians were dismissed from the services. So adumaina angan matamdagi hauraga anti immigrant policies mayam di Burma da chalai and 1962 the military coup Burma, and then the general by the name he also almost the same. So magi policy I think that the name of the policy is Enterprise Nationalization Law in 1963 Masu law nationalization of all the almost major industries, rice, tea, import, export, all of that. And Indian diaspora, Indian people of Indian origin, the Indian immigrants said they were mostly into trade and rice cultivation and all of that. So at the moment, and then the Burma government wants Indians to go back to India, and also the Nehru matamdagi issue, and when Lal Bahadur Shastri matamdagi India, Myanmar, India, they came back and then they were in refugee camps in Tamil Nadu. So, but my idea here being the attitude of the Burmese government with regards to people of Indian descent towards Indians. So India as more so this is one of the concerns with regards to India and Bangladesh relationship in the early times, since early times. But India's response, it was very muted. India does not raise a hue and cry, and like condemnation and do my part like he did. But with regard to China, the show Myanmar the show Chinese descent but China was more vocal towards Myanmar treatment of people of Chinese descent as compared to India. India get the kind of like muted response. So I'll come and link little bit of more. We're also writing MPC exams. So asumanya Tamil and South Indian people of Indian origin or Indians have especially the South Indians Tamils, mostly in the other life. In the other Halai, but they were in refugee camps. Hanadi, when the Indians were going back to India, they were allowed to carry their properties with them. So, like I said, Indians like during by that time when Burma got independence, they were some of them were very well much well to do. They were very much like dominant and ahead in import, export, and other trade activities. So if they're going, they carry their wealth with them, right? So what Nevin did is he says you cannot carry more than 15 rupees in an umbrella because if all the wealth is like carried away to India, it's going to be a problem for Myanmar, right? So he says 15 rupees and an umbrella. So aduna India the lagpa hojiki keno singse Tamil since they had they have to face hardship, and then they were in refugee camps, no work, no one life. Some of them they even wanted to go back to Myanmar because there identity crisis so like because the environment is totally different because they have been living in Burma for so long. And then they're coming back to their so-called homeland, but the environment is different, the setting is different, the people are different. The mainland. So some of them even want to go back to Myanmar. So some come via land route, Manipur through some through sea route. But when they reach Moreh, they were stopped by the Burmese from entering Myanmar. So that is how. And then people, Moreh during those days was a very small, not even a town, small village, few people. So they slowly, like those immigrants come who wanted to go back to Burma, who were stopped at Moreh, and also some others people started coming come. And that's how we have the Tamil community in Moreh. So they are very dominant community with regards to trade, Indo-Myanmar trade. So that is how we have this Tamil population in Moreh, which is very strange, right? But history dictates. So I've seen some of the irritants in India and Myanmar relationship since the early days I see later. And Myanmar the treatment of people of uh, maybe of different origins, or let's say people from different areas and who are of little different ethnicity than them. So their treatment has not been very good. And we see that with the Rohingyas also, which we will come later on in later part of our class and do later. So that is one part. And then the other part is China interest and engagement with India. India was always concerned about China engagement with Myanmar, but our relationship with Myanmar was not like that of Nepal and Burma and Nepal and Bhutan, where we have a huge influence and stake or our say in their international relation and their engagement with other countries. Nepal, we do not have that kind of influence. And Myanmar, we do not have that kind of influence. What we do is we try to engage with them and we try to prevent hegemonic influence of China in Myanmar. Aduga 1962 the coup later had a Nevin come into power later, and then in 1988 we have what we call the democratic uprising in Myanmar. So the repression by the military on this democratic movement and the establishment of military junta. The India good position its adversarial position in a way because India officially condemned the military junta, and India kind of cut off the ties with Myanmar, and not only India, many other countries also does that. So and then India supported the pro-democracy movement. The level of support went to the extent of training them in camps in Manipur and Mizoram, providing them shelter. And also, adugi mamangda ngasai asinupasi kuda asinubana lokthoi haina So we give the military cannot give 1988 cannot be Mamang, we give political asylum to this. So definitely this one will be provoked, right? So do not India ka relationship ki India ka Myanmar relationship is strained. Incredibly like and also 1988 was a flashpoint. So the India was actively engaging and supporting the this the democratic movement. We are training them, providing them shelters, and then there was All India Radio, the Burmese language broadcast, house read out by this daughter of Mr. Was having even political asylum in India. That was the level of support for democratic movement in Myanmar. And so this automatically alienates the military juntas, the one in power in Myanmar from India. Aduna masigi scenario sina kari like about China also 1988 the Burma democratic suppression for democratic movement the repression in 1989 the again the Tiananmen Square pro-democracy movement that China had taken a thousand you see in the pictures internet it's like very famous Tiananmen Square protest. China on its own citizen taking thousand like the protest China also has this kind of anti-democratic repression its own anti-democratic repression. After this, these two countries, they kind of like get closer and their engagement level increases. China began to invest hugely in Myanmar. Military, they are the biggest military supplier to Myanmar. Arm the Myanmar armed forces. The level of engagement increases. So around 1990s, the security circle and the foreign policy making circles in India started getting alarmed. If we keep on this engaging with Myanmar and China keep on building this relationship, and if this goes on in this rate, then China will have hegemonic dominance or hegemonic influence on Myanmar. So around 1993's effort has been made to re-engage with Burma, and that S.N. Dixit, I think, foreign secretary, was the first to go to Myanmar in 1993. The Main Taraga Chalaga, again, we let them know our security concerns. We started building a relationship again with Myanmar. So 1990s, early 2000s, no matter who is in power, either the military junta or the NLD under Aung San Suu Kyi, we are engaging with them. So security concerns the India engagement with Myanmar da kari kanaba purakke haibabu engaged we launched many operations like Operation Golden Bird ka haiba operation notice insurgency Myanmar military base with the help of Myanmar joint military operation tauba and not only that Myanmar it is a like multi-ethnic communities. So moigishu the insurgencies laiba dumaina ethnic arms insurgencies ma'am laiba India also in a way help Myanmar in fighting these groups. And this is particularly true when we talk about the Arakan army. Arakan army say Swaida Moy Rakhine state and somewhere state ko Arakan army Moy group Amalay who are fighting for independence sovereignty of the Arakan region ko. So Moy against the so but there is also a claim that this Arakan army was kind of supported by India initially, but later on we turned them to the Myanmar security forces. The military operation. You there is an article in print by Pravin Swami. I can send you the link. I'll send you the link. You, I got security issues to the call. You can follow this guy, Pravin Swami. He's a security editor in the print. His language is simple, and I think he's one of the best journalists that is there in India with regards to national security. Pravin Swami is with the print now. So, in one of his article, he talk about India's sacrificing this Arakan army, for the sake of building a good relationship with the Myanmar military and India's own security interests. And I will come to that later on also, because it is gaining more importance now because of the civil war, like the state of Myanmar is in right now. So India and Myanmar cooperation with regards to security concerns of Myanmar and also security concerns of India. So, and then after the military junta period, NLD come to power. Aung San Suu Kyi was like some semblance of democracy. Then Myanmar. After that, again we have the coup, and then now the civil war situation in Myanmar. So I see that the question before India is: should we adopt the previous policies that we adopted in 1980 after 1988, or should we keep on engaging with the military junta? But we are, and also the issue of Rohingyas. Rohingyas issue say like it is condemned by majority of the world powers, but India does not say it is ethnic cleansing. India does not say it is genocide. India's position is in these internal security matters. Even when our Prime Minister went to Myanmar, he condemned the terrorist activities of this Arakan Salvation Army. Rohingyas kind of militant group. Rohingyas, mainly Rohingyas in the form of Islamic group. He condemned the terrorist activities, but not much of Rohingya genocide. So, Aduna, why I'm linking these two is because masigi issues in India we are in a kind of put in a difficult spot. Why? Because if we were to ignore all these human rights violations and the state of civil war, and also the Rohingya issues. Of course, we can deal these two separately, okay, but I'm just combining the two. Excuse me, Rohingya issues, and continue to engage with or build a good relationship with the military junta. The problem for us is how the world is looking at India, and the second is especially with regards to okay, let's deal these two differently because it will be difficult to combine. First, let's deal with the democratic movement and the military junta. Now, the military is back in power. Pro-democracy is out of power, and they're kind of fighting war instead of civil war. So, but India continued to engage with the military establishment, the military junta. So, in the 1988, Adugi situation, we are pro-democracy. And what was the implication for us? Myanmar support for Northeast insurgency. Northeast insurgency thrive in the way. And then Chinese factors like that. So it was a very bad situation for India, that this engagement with Myanmar and that betting all our money into this pro-democracy movement. So we have to go back and re-engage with the junta starting from 93. I don't know how we are almost in the same kind of situation. But now, the difference between then and now is now we are engaging with them. We are not isolating them. We are engaging with them. But because we are engaging with them because of our own interests, right? Our national security interests, our connectivity, economic interests, and all of that. But the connectivity and economic interest is of not much value now. Why? Because when there is a civil war going on in Myanmar, there cannot be much headway with regards to any connectivity project or any economic, meaningful economic engagement, but it's difficult. So, main is security concern. We are engaging with the military junta. But what if tomorrow the pro-democracy movement also come to power again? And what if they turn into India? So, assuming a calculation, it has to be kept in mind. So, I don't know how India position. We are kind of just engaging with both the parties. Even when Aung San Suu Kyi and her party was in power, when a prime minister go there, prime minister met both sides, the military establishment also, the democratic establishment also. And now we are trying to engage with both of them. But there are questions raised on India's engagement with the military junta. Aduna, kaino laire, hojiki Myanmar ki political establishment engagement level laire. Then Rohingya crisis we are engaging with Myanmar, and our position on Myanmar is to a great extent dictated by our security and strategic needs. Adubu Masina Kanaga Ekhoiga relationship to problem Puraki Haibamudamda, Bangladesh and India and other Islamic countries in general. Karigino Haibamudamda, Bangladesh Karigino Haibamudamda. Because the influx of refugees in Bangladesh, it is disastrous for Bangladesh. Bangladesh cannot cope that kind of population influx, migration, and refugee crisis. And then India is even in the beginning not acknowledging that there is refugee crisis. Later on, they did it, mainly because of Bangladesh diplomatic maneuvering. And then in Bangladesh, they want the refugees to go back to Myanmar. And India is not even saying for citizenship or Rohingyas and all of that. And then Bangladesh is like almost all the Rohingya refugees, majority of them are here in Bangladesh only. So it is creating a crisis between a strain between India and Bangladesh with regards to India's position in Rohingya. Although the question is the security perspective. So, India's engagement with the junta, main of the reason is the security concerns and strategic concerns of India and Nepal. But the question is, does it serve the purpose? Now the fighting, if you look at the news of the civil war, the fight that is going on, the fight now is mostly active in these two regions. Kachin state, Chin state, and then Rohingya from the Rakhine state, like around this area. It's bordering India. Around this area. Masida India ki security ki purposes serve tawbra haina question live karigino hairaga. When this ethnic armed militant groups, when they are strong, they still give arms and shelter to the Northeast insurgency groups. They give the shelter. So, there is maybe not much that the Burmese army can. Of course, they can do a lot. The strength of the ethnic militant group is also one factor. And other factor is, if you're reading the news, recently there is claim of Manipur Delhi-based organizations, militant organization being coming into terms with the Myanmar military junta to fight on behalf of the Myanmar military junta against the uh, People Defense Force of Myanmar group who is fighting the Myanmar military government. Aduna, as he said, news of PLA, she said, then the name comes in newspaper. Aduna, if the Myanmar government itself is using the militant organization of Northeast India to fight against uh, the militant groups who are fighting against them, then India's security interest of fighting these militant groups with the help of Myanmar fall flat, right? So, Aduna, there is question being raised now as to whether India's engagement with the military junta in this time of history is serving India purpose or not. So, but we do not know how much the level of engagement between the Myanmar military establishment and the Indian insurgency groups are. But there are claims now and reports coming in newspaper. And the security establishment of India, of course, they will know better than what is being there in the newspaper, right? So, Ashini concern like that is there. And one is I talk about and also in the future we don't know what the strength of this ethnic militant groups and then what the nature of Myanmar will look like in the coming future. So India has to be very wise. India is working on an eggshell with regards to Myanmar. We have to be very wise as to our level of engagement, who we engage with, and how we balance the pro-democracy and the military, and also issues like the Rohingyas. I'll come to the Rohingyas later on, maybe. Yeah, we still have time. Another important factor is our so-called the Kaladan multimodal project, connectivity project called Ashishe. It passes through Rakhine State around here. And this area, see Paletwa, so area, this area come under the influence of the Arakan army, who India has kind of like sacrificed them at the altar of the Burmese military establishment. So read that article by Pravin Swami and then you will get a more clearer picture. So there is question of whether India is betting on the wrong horse. So this area comes under their influence, the Arakan army. But we have in the past cooperated with the Burmese military in operation against the Arakan army. So this can be, kind of can be a thorn in India's Kaladan multimodal project. This is a possibility because as it stands now, Arakan army is not finished yet. They're fighting a good fight, at least in their perspective. And Rohingya, coming to Rohingya. Rohingya the issue se karino hai matamda. The issue is the growing radicalization and the possibility of radicalization, because the situation is ripe as far as Rohingya is concerned. They were referred to as, I think, most persecuted minorities by the UN Human Rights Council. The situation is ripe for radicalization of the Rohingyas. Now, even though with the kind of position that India has with regards to Rohingyas, when these are radicalized groups go, and when the terrorists, for say, radicalized the terrorist activities engaged over ꯃꯗꯨꯗꯒꯤ security implication ꯗꯗꯤ ꯏꯟꯗꯤꯌꯥꯗꯁꯨ ꯌꯧꯕꯅꯦꯕ. ꯀꯔꯤꯒꯤꯅꯣ? Because of their proximity to India and the close network of the community that it has with Bangladesh and then also with parts of India. It is not very, if a terrorist can blend in among the refugees and go to Europe and commit the terrorist activities, and it is not difficult to imagine the same thing happening in India, right? So these are some of the concerns that we have with regards to India and Myanmar. So I will repeat again the important things. One is the security concerns. India main interest in engaging with Myanmar, security concern later. Second is connectivity, for which we have the trilateral highways and the Kaladan multimodal project. The third is the economic aspect, because in many Indian companies, ONGC, BDAs, GAIL, and all of them are investing in Myanmar, because Myanmar has the vast energy resources, potential resources, which are yet to be exploited, and also now operational oil wells. And then China is hugely investing in Myanmar, in infrastructure project, and also access to these energy resources by building pipeline from somewhere around here to Yunnan province in China. And the third is the maritime domain of India and Myanmar relationship. So these are the key main factors or interests for India with regards to India's engagement with Myanmar. And Myanmar is highly, they need investment, and also they themselves don't want to be under the hegemonic influence of China. And the emerging trend, the hierarchy, now the situation in Myanmar and how are we to engage with them, looking back and learning lessons from what we did in the past. So this is all for today. And like I said, after every class, do read up on this any topics that we discuss in the day. City in India-Myanmar relation, go back and read India-Myanmar relationship. So if you want to know more about the Tamil, you can read that one also. And you can know about Kaladan multimodal project. You can be discussed over it. Do like that. And I think that's about it. And the maritime dimension though, that is sometimes often neglected. Then you should remember that one. And the Rohingya crisis with complexities for India, Bangladesh, Myanmar. See the Rohingya issue, the complexities like and the Myanmar, Russia has interest like Myanmar, and right in the human rights in UN, Russia and China are in the side of Myanmar. And not only India but many other countries are investing in Myanmar also, partly also to win away Myanmar from China. That is there. Aluga, Cocos Island, geography the located small island. Later. So if there is any question, you can ask me now. Okay. Be So if there is no more question, I'll be ending the class. Have a good day and enjoy your weekend.